when you're in this type of situation and you meet someone new, you also talk about your fears. So you are more vulnerable with people. So you feel like you can know better and quicker someone. It's not about showing off. We don't have entertainment. The only thing we have is us. This for me was a really positive outcome from this lockdown. It's just to being able to meet people, to meet humans, and to create real humans connections.
And authentic relationships. There's nowhere to hide.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the podcast Fly with Mel. I use this podcast to talk about all the personal development that we can get by living far from home. I tell some stories, but most of the time I invite people that I meet along the way to share their own. This podcast is an open door to the world because I truly believe that everyone you meet has something to teach you. So I invite you to take a seat and enjoy the flight. Today I'm again with my friend Paul. Hi Paul.
Hello.
Paul is a success coach and a mental health advocate. It's your third time on the podcast. Thank you for coming back again. We're always having so many deep conversations and I love them, and that's why I wanted to bring up one topic that we had lately, the fact that a lot of people around us, and us included, are feeling a bit overwhelmed and stressed and with a bit of anxiety with this post-lockdown situation. So to give you a bit of context, we are now out of lockdown in Sydney since a week. We were in lockdown for about 4 months, right? And now that we've created new routines, new habits, etc., some of us are feeling a bit like lost because we have to go back to this normal life, or at least this previous life, which is totally different. And another context that I wanted to give is that we are sitting at the beach because now we are allowed to. So we are free to sit at the beach and to talk here. So you might hear some waves, some kids, some cars or stuff like that. Dogs, birds.
Police cars.
Police cars as well. Everything. So I hope you'll enjoy. How do you feel today, 1 week after the Freedom Day?
It's kind of that contrast of emotions, I think, isn't there? There's it's been such a blur. There's a part of me that does feel like, the last few months didn't happen, and you're like, you can be sitting at the beach and think, wow, was that real or was that a dream? Like that period of, everything being closed and working from home and not seeing friends. But then there's the other part where, and we'll go into more detail, but that like weird anxious feeling, because it is quite different to what the last few months have been. And I've certainly been asking myself, like, why am I feeling like this? Like, even just in simple settings, seeing more than one friend at a time, you're kind of like, I'm feeling anxious, but at the same time it feels normal, so then why am I feeling anxious? So it's a bit of a confusing time, and it's for me at the moment, I think it's just a day at a time and starting small. And I think also because we had such a long period of introspection, it's also, maybe we don't need to go back to exactly how things were. Maybe there's some things that we learnt in that time that we might want to continue doing, and we perhaps don't need to put so much pressure on ourselves to go back to normal, because there was, some really good downtime to really think about maybe how we want our lives to be different.
Do you feel that during this time you could reflect a bit more on your thought, on which direction do you want to take for your life, for example?
Lockdown last year, like when COVID first hit, I think that for me was a very different time. I was with family, I was in Brisbane, and I wasn't so badly affected. Obviously my life in Sydney was on pause, but I was still in an environment where day-to-day life was pretty normal. And for me, at least in that time, that was where I was like, okay, what am I gonna, where's my life gonna head? What do I want to do with my career? I just finished my university degree. And I feel like that period, for me at least, was the period where I really developed the direction for my life and figured out the answers to some really hard questions. But this lockdown, you know, was the first time where it was like, oh, actually, I can't go and sit in that cafe. Oh, I can't see, like, you know, multiple friends at the same time. I can't go to the gym. I can't train. I can't, like, all of these little parts of my routine that kept me healthy, I couldn't do. And the momentum that I'd been building in my career, like my young career, I felt like that had kind of been put on hold. So it was like, it kind of came at a really interesting time. So I found it quite difficult. And I think the lessons this time around weren't so much about, you know, the career side of things that happened last year. It was more learning to, you know, be patient, to be calm with myself, to accept the feeling, to sit with the feeling, to sit with the discomfort, to know that the discomfort is okay. And that was really hard. And, you know, probably the hardest period, I actually, you know, as you know, tested positive for COVID, and then went through that period where you're in your own home and you can hear your housemates in the living room, but you can't go and hang out with them. And, you know, I was feeling anxious already about, you know,
such a weird thing.
Being in isolation, and now you're really in isolation within isolation. And like little things, you know, like the police would come around and make sure that I was there isolating. And it just like reinforced this idea that, like, I don't know, like after 18 months of living with this, to actually, you know, and I hadn't known anyone personally who'd had COVID, so it was a very strange ending to this whole thing. And now it's like Freedom Day, and it's like, wow, did that just happen? But I think the big lessons were just being patient and kind, and I found it hard to sustain the routine. That's why I'm curious to hear how you were able to sustain that routine, because, you know, you were still training, you were still spending time in nature, more time in nature. How did you maintain that discipline when, you know, you couldn't?
To be very, very honest, at the very beginning of the lockdown, the first 2 weeks, I was clearly stressed, a lot of anxiety because of the uncertainty. You know, it's like I was starting a new job as well, so everything was new for me, and I had to suddenly recreate all the things that I've created for several years in a new country, which is Australia. So it's kind of a weird feeling. I would say I was feeling a bit empty. Like suddenly I felt that I've lost everything, like all the stuff that I've built. And I just said, like, all my routines, all the fact that I love to wake up early, to train, to take time for myself, to all this kind of stuff. And I was like, wow, suddenly we cannot do that anymore. But then you take the time to understand exactly the rules, to adapt also to the situation, and just to take it step by step. Each day, what makes me feel good? Okay, I will incorporate that. I will keep that. If I can do that, I will just keep it. And so after the third week of lockdown, I think that's where I started to create these new habits, which were already there. Creating this routine, which was only for me, myself, and I. So not waking up to see friends, but waking up to see the sunrise by myself, waking up to train, all this kind of stuff. And I think it's just about listening to yourself and listening to what makes you feel good. At the end of the day, you don't want to sit in your bed and be like, oh shit, another day of lockdown, another day of not being able to be free, but that is, I think it's personal. It's also you and your mindset and where you're at in your life.
Did you feel that at the beginning? Like in those first couple of weeks, did you it was kind of getting
lost.
On top of you?
I felt lost. I was pushing myself to stick to my habits, to stick to what made me feel good. But I was feeling still lost. I was like, is it really serving me to still waking up in the morning? Is it still serving me to go training? I mean, is it still serving me? Is it still helping me to just enjoy my days, you know? Because I was just like doing stuff because of the repetition and because of the habits that I had. But starting your day, doing your things, and then not knowing what will happen, because not knowing when you're going to be free, when you're going to see your friends, when, you know. And I'm also I'm a social person, so I love to be outside. I love to see a lot of people. I just love this type of energy. And so suddenly it was like, okay, from tomorrow you're not going to see anyone. I'm lucky enough to live with housemates, so I was not like alone. But it's just like suddenly you have to change everything. You have to change the way you see your life. You have to change the way you're approaching your days. In the late years, I would say, I was listening a lot to myself and to what brings me joy. And I know that I love my me time, I love my personal time, but I also love to balance it with time with people, because that's what makes me grow. And suddenly having this taking away from me, I was just like, oh, okay, I have to find another way to continue to grow and to continue to feel good and to continue to feel this joy. So I just tried to adapt my habit with new stuff. I was reading more, I was learning more, I educated myself on new topics, and I just loved it. But this is not easy, because as I'm telling you, the first weeks I was like, my God, like, what should I do? Like, who I am, what is it? Where are we? So I took these new habits, which I really enjoyed. And after 4 months of lockdown, when these new habits became my new life, when suddenly we have to, get out of this lockdown and come back to the I would say normal life, which is not normal life, but back to life. It's stressful, because it's like, oh, I just created all these new habits. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. I love it. And now back again to this kind of noisy life. So I personally I feel anxiety now, because I don't want to be back to this life. Because as you said, for you, it's just like this lockdown also helped people to reflect on themselves, to just sit with their own thought, question themselves, discover what make us feel great at the end of the day, without having all the entertainment that we can have when we are not in lockdown. Today I know that I will take it slowly, but I'm not afraid to say it. I'm not afraid to say that I'm afraid to go back to the pub, to go back to the bars, to go back to this life where everything is going very, very fast, like to go back to all this type of people that you can meet everywhere. I feel even just overwhelmed by the idea. I don't know if it's good or not, but I just feel like, wow, lockdown was quite of a pause in our lives. I feel like it was like kind of a break, like take a break from life, take just this break and ask yourself the right questions. Because when we are in this fast, normal life, we never take the time to ask ourselves the right question. Or we don't force ourselves to do it.
What, I guess at this point in time, what questions do you think people should be asking themselves?
What do you want to keep from this lockdown? What served you during this lockdown that you want to keep? So, for example, for you, could you answer this question?
I much prefer being the one asking the questions. The biggest thing that stands out to me is just how important a routine is for my mental health. Just simple things like going and being able to sit in a cafe and having a coffee. Like, being able to, even if you don't feel like it, just to walk into a gym, pick up one dumbbell for 5 seconds and then leave. Just that process is quite
Is it how you
therapeutic.
train?
That's all it takes for me.
Okay. Wow. Easy.
That is how incredible bodies are built. Yeah, so I think what I've learned, if anything, or out of everything rather, is just how important that routine is, and I need to be very conscious of maintaining that, or if I can't do aspects of it, finding a replacement quicker, because I didn't substitute the habits that I was losing as you did quick enough, and then I think that it probably at a point during lockdown didn't leave me feeling very, very good. And then the second big takeaway really for me is, like, I didn't appreciate those things enough. Like, I didn't appreciate the simple pleasure of being able to sit in a cafe and just people watch for a few hours and journal and think. Because I really need that time, and that's probably something else that I've learned, is that I need the time to be able to sit and just observe people and to think and to like piece together everything, because, when you're working from home, as you know, it's like you just kind of, there's no separation between, like my desk is 5 centimeters away from my bed, so it's like it's very easy to just go from your bed to your desk, and then 16 hours a day you're thinking about work and what you have to do, and the ability just to sit in different environments and see things from a different perspective. I think like gratitude, appreciation for all these things that I took for granted.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, as well as the importance of a consistent routine, I think is, yeah. And, you know, we can talk about these things, you can read about these things, and you think you've got a good grasp on it, but until you're in that situation where you've got to actually practice and apply it, you don't know how you're going to respond. And I think I've learned through all of this that I probably actually wasn't very good at doing that, and it's like reiterated the need for me to focus on that more.
That's great. Okay. During this lockdown, what I've missed the most was to see most of my friends, I would say. I've created very, very strong relationships here with some people, and so I see them as my family. And I think when you're in a new country, very, very far away from home, when you feel that the whole world is falling apart, you need this kind of strong people, strong relationship around you to just feel like, okay, we're gonna get there. We've got this. I missed that the most. And also I realized how much I wasn't attached so much to all these kind of entertainment things that I was doing. For example, going to the restaurant, going to the bar every weekends, all this type of stuff, I didn't miss them. And I thought I would miss them because it's social life and I love to be like out there. But I think this taught me also how the more you grow, the more you discover yourself, the more you understand also the importance of being able to adapt in any type of situation, and the importance of not getting attached too much to stuff, to things, to situations, but also to people. And this is the hardest part. To be able to say, okay, I know that I have some really good and beautiful people out there who are still my friends, even if I don't see them, and they will still be my friend before, after, even if I don't see them for years. And being in a state of like peace of mind with that. Yeah, I think this lockdown just taught me and I guess a lot of people how the importance of not getting attached to anything, because you can lose everything tomorrow. Tomorrow you can, like, in this pandemic, everything is uncertain. You don't know how the future is going to be. So if tomorrow we tell you like you have to move from here, take one or two steps and move, you lose everything. But if you don't get attached so much, like strongly to all the things that you have or all the things that you've created, then it's easy for you to like move from there and adapt and recreate your life. And you know, it's just like, and I feel like this is the meaning of life as well, to just create yourself and learn to always recreate yourself, because you will never know everything. You will always learn constantly, and the more you're open to that, and the more you're open to everything in any situation and any type of people around you, the more you can create and continue to create. During this lockdown again, and I know we're like talking about our stories, but hopefully some people could reflect on them but I've created new strong relationship with some people that I've met like 4 months ago, and I can tell you now they're my friends, you know, while in a normal life you don't take this much time to meet someone and to understand someone, and also when you meet someone in this type of situation, which is again uncertainty, stress, you don't know what tomorrow is going to be made of. When you're in this type of situation and you meet someone new, you also talk about your fears, so you are more vulnerable with people, so you feel like you can know better and quicker someone. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not about showing off. We don't have entertainment. The only thing we have is us sitting on the grass, going for a walk, talking about, what do you think about the new rule? What do you think about, like, all the fears are coming out, we are talking about our families together, we are talking about what we're missing, we're talking about subjects that we don't talk about them with new people that we meet in real life. So this for me was a really positive outcome from this lockdown, is just to being able to meet people, to meet humans, and to create real humans connections.
And authentic relationships, there's nowhere to hide.
Exactly.
It's not, go to a bar, have a few drinks, put on makeup and
exactly, and say, I said that because I wasn't sober, or this kind of stuff. You can't exactly what you said, you can't hide.
Yeah.
You can't hide.
Yeah. I think, I mean, that was, as you say, that was the only thing we could do, wasn't it? I mean, at the end, to be honest, I was getting sick of going for like coffee walks. I do not like walking that much at the best of times. It seemed like that was the only thing anyone wanted to do. Yeah, but it was like you would go outside and it was, you saw so many more people, in Bondi, around Bondi, doing the coastal walk, in parks, at night, like we'd go for a walk and it'd be packed like outside. And I don't know if you would have seen that before. It was, they'd be wearing their matching active wear in the gym, trying to make eye contact with the guy doing squats in the squat rack or like whatever, like it was cool to see more people out in nature, I think, and connecting. And because we could only catch up on one-on-one, I think that we had had some very deep conversations on those one-on-one walks that I wouldn't have had in a group setting as well.
Exactly, yes.
Which is quite interesting. But now it's that readjustment back to, groups, and there's been, caught up with some friends last week, and there was only 4 of us, but I remember just sitting there like, I didn't know how to interact, and like the cues of the social, like the social circle. I was like, so like, when do I, how do I
jump in the conversation? No,
is my joke funny for the group? Like, you're not just trying to make the one person laugh. You're like, is the whole group gonna laugh? And it's like silly things like that. But all of these like weird things that you never think about. But when you haven't been able to do that, like it's been enforced that you can't do that for a period of time.
So how do you think we should do to come back to this kind of back to normal life? And again, I don't want to say that because for me it's never going to be back to normal. We're always like learning to evolve as humans.
I mean, I wanted to have something really cool to say to this point, but I think we have to ask ourselves first whether that is actually a life that we want to return to. I think the pressure to return to that life maybe, isn't founded in something that's actually meaningful to us. It's rooted in the expectation that we should be going back to that. So I think take that pressure off, and if it's meant to happen, it'll just happen organically. It'll be the friend wants to catch up with you at the bar one-on-one, or there'll be opportunities that maybe don't make you feel so anxious that will happen, and then you'll get the confidence from that and it'll start to feel more normal. And then if it's meant to go back to, let's not say normal, but back to how it was a few months ago or a couple of years ago, then it will. And I think it's just being patient with that process and not forcing anything, and reminding ourselves of some of those really important lessons that we learned during lockdown.
If you would have 3 tips to give to your students, because I know that you're working with a lot of students, 3 tips to give to them if they're coming to you and say like, oh, I'm too stressed to come back to the normal life, what would they be? Or for anyone out there who needs just to be like guided.
Well, I think echoing some of the things there is just, whenever we put excess pressure and expectation on ourselves, the fear inhibits, a step in any direction. So I think, not looking at the end goal and, where you want to be in 3 months' time or where you were 3 months ago, it's just looking at today. And what do you feel capable of doing today? And maybe setting a goal that, falls within that, or maybe just a little bit outside of that. And I think when we can start to, prove, it goes back to that, how we form any habit successfully. It's, you have to be able to prove your ability to do it with, small win after small win after small win. And then when you look back, you're like, wow, look at what I achieved. So I think day by day, look for the small wins. Don't overstretch yourself or overreach initially.
Live in the present, that's what you were saying. Live
in the present. And I think observe some of those little things maybe we took for granted before lockdown, and find moments to share some of those little joys a little bit more now, and not all at once.
I would add to that, just go at your own pace. There is no competition out there to go back to the normal life. If you don't feel like going out tonight and it's Saturday night, it's fine. Go with the flow. Your friends are going to stay your friends if they are real friends, and they're going to be okay to not see you at the bar if you're not. I mean, yeah, just that. Thanks a lot, Paul.
Thank you.
It was a great conversation as always. Take care of yourself, everyone, and see you on the next episode.